Hi friends, it's Lethea from Farm View Creators here with yet another hutch. I love this one. It reminds me of my mama. She made all my clothes when I was growing up. She made clothes for my Cabbage Patch Kid and for my Barbie doll. So this one just was really close to my heart and I absolutely loved painting it. So I am getting all my pieces. I'm having to kind of refresh my sticky board. And I am going to put the pieces that I'm going to stain with Dyke Brown semi-gloss stain, and I've got a fresh new staining sponge today, and I'm hitting some of those pieces. I'm going to let them sit aside to dry. I'm going to hit the back side of the easel, and I'm kind of propping them up so that they're not laying flat so they can dry on both sides. And I've got lots and lots of paint surrounding me because this project has lots of really fun colors. So I'm trying to place the pieces with the other pieces that I'm going to paint in similar colors. Some of the pieces have several colors on them. So I'm just putting them with the color that is on there the most. And then I'm going to set that aside and work on the actual hutch. So I'm going to go in with Charlotte Gray. This is a super light gray. In fact, it looks almost white until you put something that's white or buttercream against it. But it is a mineral acrylic paint from Paint Couture. Y'all know I love my Paint Couture paints. I'm hitting all of the drawers and the background and just getting a nice even coat. Not worried too much about doing 2 coats because I kind of want it to have that distressed vintage feel, but I am cleaning out those score lines with my weeding tool so that I still have that shiplap look going on. It's best to do this when your paint is still mostly wet. It just works better. I'm going to set all that aside to dry for a little while we work on the other pieces of the hutch. I'm going with Carbon Gray. This is a really nice dark gray. I haven't used it much, but I'm really liking it. It's just an alternative to black when black would be too stark, which I really wanted more gray tones for this project. So I'm just using a small flat brush and hitting all that. Again, not worrying about 2 coats necessarily, just really trying to make sure that my paint strokes are smooth and continue through the whole line of wood. And then I'm going to set that aside and start working on all the little details. I'm going to go in first with my Buttercream. Y'all know I love that Buttercream. This one is a chalk style paint from Paint Couture. I'm using the side of a sponge dauber and just barely touching the boards or the pieces to add that color. That way it does not sink down into those score lines for the words and the adorable little details. Just hitting several pieces with that. Now I'm going to go in with Coral Passion. This one is a mineral acrylic paint from Paint Couture. And again, I'm using the side of my sponge dauber so it doesn't sink into those scored lines, and then a tiny little brush to add it to the thread holder. And now I'm going in with British Gray, which is a really beautiful light to medium gray. It kind of gives me those silver feels. So I used it for the top of the jar, the needle on the sewing machine, at the ends of the measuring tape, as well as one of the spools of thread and the buttons. Now I'm going in with Lemon Peel. This is a beautiful bright yellow, and I'm getting a button and one of the thread spools, and then I'm going in with Barn Door. This one is a chalk style paint, getting the tomato pin cushion, a button, and a spool of thread, as well as the pot for the little tiny plant. Now I'm going to go in with Opulence. This is a nice, just green, and I'm hitting the top of that pin cushion, one of the spools of thread, and a button. And then Love Struck. This is a Lux Metallic Paint. It has such a beautiful little shimmer. So I'm getting the scissor handle, one of the spools of thread, and a button with that beautiful color. Trying to decide what I want to do next. Now I'm going to go in with Night Sky. This is just a really pretty neutral navy. I'm going to get one of the spools of thread, the holder for the scissors, and one of the buttons. And now we're going to go in with Gemstone. It's the first time I've really used Gemstone, and it is so pretty. It's another Lux Metallic from Paint Couture, and it has such a pretty sparkle. Even when I go over this with my dead flat top coat, which takes all the shine out of things, that sparkle is still going to shine through. So pretty. Now I'm going to go in with Autumn Sage and Basil. These are, I think they're both acrylic mineral paints. I do have Autumn Sage in a chalk style, but I used the mineral acrylic for this. And I love that there's a quilt square on one of the shelves, because one of the other things that I love to paint are barn quilts. So this was just perfect. Plus, again, I told you this reminded me of my mother, and my mom is an amazing quilter. She made quilts for my wedding. She made quilts for my children. She is just so talented. And I'm going to kind of alternate the basil with the lighter Autumn Sage to give it that two-tone look. So cute. So cute. I just love all those tiny little pieces. It is amazing the amount of detail in these little kits. So I was just putting some color on my little pin cushion, pins on the little colored heads. You know what I'm talking about? Those little colored tops to your pins. And I'm going to go in with my Debi's DIY dark wax and kind of give it a little distressing. Not too much, because I don't want it to be overwhelming. I want my colors to shine through. But on the actual hutch, I'm going to go around all of the drawers and cabinet doors. I'm going to put some in the background and then kind of buff it out and add just a little bit to the carbon. And then I'm going to glue those pieces together after I put my dead flat top coat on. This top coat takes out all the shine and just gives it that layer of protection. The mineral acrylic paint does have a top coat built in, but it also has just a little bit of shine to it, and I really like matte. So I'm going to give that a good dry, because you want all your pieces to be nice and dry before you go in to assemble. And then I'm going to put it together. I'm just scratching off some of the paint that gooped up on the edge there. Going to get my dead flat on all of those tiny little pieces. Give that a good dry. I'm gonna just pop those off of this sticky board. I think this sticky board has about lost its sticky, so it's going to be retired. And I'm going to go in with my art glitter glue. Love this glue so much. It has a really tight bond once it dries, but it gives a little bit of wiggle room It dries clear, which is another plus. And then my favorite thing is that it does not make my fingers crusty. I just love the detail in this kit. I mean, look at that. It's got a measuring tape on the form. And those cute little buttons. And the tea towel. So I'm just adding a little glue and then placing them. You'll see that in some instances I got my pieces too far apart or too close. So I had to kind of wiggle them around, and that's where the art glitter glue giving you a little wiggle room really helps. The hoop on that embroidery hoop wanted to give me a little trouble, but no biggie. Here's where I had to kind of slide some pieces over. I had too much space between my sewing machine and my button jar. Get that form on there. And those cute hearts at the top. I love how they're sparkling and shining. And there we have it. It's so pretty. I love how it turned out. I hope you did too. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Bye.